This is a special edition of Late Night Health. I'm Mark Allen. We're going to talk about limb lengthening with Dr. Nick Gay from the Silicon Valley Orthopedics, and we're going to find out how it works, because you can take somebody who's, I guess, shorter and make them taller. That's the bottom line?
That's correct. And it's a first. Most folks ask us, why am I just hearing about this now? And it's due to our technology reaching a certain state. And uh, basically, you can lengthen the femur now and walk on it while we're doing lengthening. And that just came out in the technology about 2 years ago. And we've been using it since. And it's great because you don't have to be in a wheelchair. You can use crutches for a few weeks and then you're back to walking.
Wow. A couple of years ago, I was working with a urologist, a male urologist, and we're talking about lengthening here, okay?
Ah,
And he was able to lengthen the male appendage, the penis. And I asked him, I said, two things. Does it work? Is it painful?
hmm
Is it worth it? All those three. There's got to be some similarities here,
yes.
right? Is it painful to start with?
Yes, you do need some pain medication for a few days to a week or two after the surgery. We do actually break the bone in the femur, but it's stabilized by the implant. And as you add new bone back to that defect, the pain decreases. So usually a few weeks of pain medication, but not months of it.
And and what about which would alleviate any chance of being hooked on the pain meds?
Correct. We are very attuned and attentive to counseling our patients. We only use the narcotics when the pain really spikes, and otherwise we have multiple medicines that are not addictive for controlling the pain, and it's very manageable. It could because it's a very state of the art and stable construct in the femur. So your thigh bone is still stable, and you can walk on it.
Which is the femur? Can you tell? Is that the thigh bone?
Yes, between the hip and the knee. So that long bone.
That long bone. And in some people, it's shorter. Is this an elective surgery?
Yes, this is elective and basically aesthetics. So it does improve some aspects of function, but it's really for folks that do feel like their stature is not where they want it to be and want to improve their stature.
And I guess they've done studies. Short people running for political office, for example, tend to lose.
Yeah, it's a funny thing and something that still exists in our society. And it's definitely a personal decision, but I get to know my patients. I want to know, what your life is like, what's the motivation here, and a lot of folks, anybody over 18 is done growing, so we can say by the time you're 18, you're at your height, and how much would you like to add? We can add 3 inches through the femur, and then electively, if so desired, another 2 inches from the tibia, and that's below the knee, the large bone below the knee.
So,
So total of five.
so a person who's 5'6", 5'7" can be over 6 feet or so.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was this when I was growing up, guys? What's the age range? I mean, is anybody over 18, or can you take a 60-year-old guy or a 50-year-old guy, and will it work on him or her?
Correct. Yeah. Once we're getting over 50, the regenerative potential, your ability to put down new bone, is going to be slightly less than a younger person. Uh, and so most folks that are interested in it are between 18 and 50, but we, are exploring those options in the folks over 50.
And what about the recovery time?
Sure. So the incisions are actually just 1 inch incisions, small incisions, and then a few more just the size of a fingernail, so it's very small. And so there's no blood loss. In theory, you can really go home the next day. We typically have you stay overnight just to manage pain control and have you work with our physical therapist, get up and around, feel comfortable, at
Hmm.
least getting to the bathroom and back. And then usually crutches for a few weeks after surgery, but after that, once the bone is more solid, you'll feel comfortable walking on your legs.
This is kind of like a Lego, is how I'm
Yes.
my head.
Yeah, and it's all internal. So the fascinating thing about it is we now have magnetic gears in the center of the nail, and that's how it expands. Is we place a magnetic activator on it that turns the little gears, and they unwind and lengthen. So we do about a millimeter a day for a total of 3 inches over 3 months.
And somebody doing this, I mean, that's like you're a bionic man or woman.
Yeah, truly, truly, it's fascinating stuff, and it's there are things that we need to prepare for. So I have my folks come out in advance, about 3 months in advance, and I want you doing certain stretches. I want you to stretch your quadricep, your hamstring, your calf muscle, and really get those muscles lengthened and supple, so that the expansion is a smooth one.
And afterwards, after say 3 months or 6 months, normal activity. For example, if I'm a short runner, now I can be a long distance runner.
Correct. You'll have a longer stride, and as long as we've done the stretching, uh, yeah, running is possible. The bone has fully formed back into the defect or the gap we created, and so you don't really need the nail anymore. You're putting weight through your own bone, and that's why some folks electively, after about a year or two, will have the nails removed, and then you're just at that length rest of your life.
With those going through, not that people are traveling that much, but will those nails trigger off anything going through security?
The typical security metal detector at the airport detects about 50 grams, maybe slightly less than that. And yeah, those would go off, and you would just say to your TSA agent, medical, because they're used to a lot of folks having a hip replacement or a knee replacement in, and then they wand you and you go right through.
And I guess you get some kind of note or letter or form filled out for TSA.
Yeah, we used to do those pre 9/11 days, but now they don't require them. So they will just do a brief wand and detect that, yeah, you have something internal, and you can go on.
Tell us about some of the success stories you've had. How many have you done, and what do the people feel like psychologically after they've had the service the surgical technique done?
Yeah, people get a significant boost and are extremely happy with the outcomes in general. The stretching, like I said, is imperative. We don't want you to get stiff muscles, but having those extra 3 inches, majority of folks get back to life and are much and happier with their stature, obviously. Um, the procedure itself, the femur nails, we've been doing for probably 20, 30 years. They've evolved nicely and really have become a very straightforward procedure over the last 2 to 4 years, so that we can do this selectively.
The the um, the number of people who are requesting this. I mean, I think the average height has gone up over the number of years. It missed me, certainly.
Yeah, and I even feel like since I was in college, I was class of '98. I feel like high school kids, football players, a lot of athletes have just gotten bigger. It's an odd phenomenon, um, but yeah, it's a reality, and now we have some options for it. And I wouldn't recommend the procedure for someone who's a competitive athlete, because you do have some changes in your height above the ground, and You won't have balance problems or anything, but if you're, say, a golfer, we don't want to increase the length between you and the golf ball. That's going to cause you some problems competitively.
Short golfers have an advantage, I guess, don't they?
Yeah, Justin Thomas is what, 5'6", 5'8"?
Yeah. Um, what about is there a weak joint, a weak point, or is that through the new technology? Uh, you're breaking the bone. You're putting something in between the bone.
Mhm.
Is there anything there that is a, I guess, as I said, a weak link?
Yeah, later, once the bone is consolidated, that's how amazing the body is. We don't have any evidence that that bone is weaker. That bone takes the load cyclically with every step and becomes strong, and you don't need the nail anymore. But for about the first 2 months, 2 to 3 months, until the bone is fully formed, you are dependent on that nail for the weight bearing, the load of each step. But then the bone catches up and you don't need the nail anymore. Um, and then no residual weak points after that per our current data.
And then you're actually putting in, I'll call it a bionic device because I don't know another way of describing it. And every little bit, you you turn the screw and it lengthens the bone.
Correct. You just place a magnetic device on the outside of your skin, no, not invasive, no needles or anything. And it internally turns those gears, which then lengthen apart with the magnets. And so it's pain free, and you do it 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then sometimes one time before bed. But there's no pain with the lengthening.
And then how long does it take to reach that 3 inches
About 3 months. Yeah, usually about 3 months.
about 3 months, and you do it incrementally every day?
Correct. We set you up with a prescription, which programs the magnetic device to go a certain distance with each lengthening. Do those 3 times a day, and we just slowly build that, give the body time every day. We know the lengths that are safe to lengthen just from our experience. And so, yeah, over about 3 months, we get 3 inches from the femur.
How many do you have any success stories that you can tell us about?
We'll be publishing some soon on the website. So look at siliconvalleyortho.com.
Oh, good. Okay, SiliconValleyOrtho.com. That's the website, and you can get some information on that. Um, let's just back up a second because you have a unique perspective at Silicon Valley Orthopedic in general, you and your partner. Tell us about your, I guess, your philosophy, your mission statement as orthopedic surgeons.
Thank you. We're very proud of the fact that the patient and the doctor make the decisions on their care. Many places now care is very managed, and it may come from someone, an administrator or someone else, what the health system does for a certain condition. But at Silicon Valley Orthopedics, you're sitting down with your orthopedic surgeon and you as the patient, and he or she are making those decisions. And we're very proud of that. We have MRI, physical therapy, surgery center, all in one building, X-ray as well, of course. And so we can really take care of all orthopedic problems under one roof. And that, now involves, very almost never having to go to the hospital. So truly a outpatient orthopedic surgery center.
And if you're having the lengthening, the limb lengthening, you do that at your facility as well?
Correct. That is an option. And we do have a lot of folks coming from Asia, the East Coast, and they're just in town for the surgery. We set them up. I actually converse with their physical therapist at home that's going to be working with them. And I'm available too for consultations, and I check in with them in subsequent weeks after the surgery, make sure the lengthenings are going smoothly.
By the way, I like your philosophy of letting the patient make the final decision. A lot of doctors don't do that, and you know that.
Yes, sir. And it's become just an administrative burden for a lot of docs where they know what will get approved, what won't, etc. Whereas we're taking more of the approach of here's everything possible. What do you gravitate towards, and we guide so that someone knows that certain things may not be available to them, but the ones that are, those are the ones we go with.
And last but not least, as we're recording this, we talked about it before we started our recording, is how the fires right now, the air quality. I'm down in Southern California. I'm away from most of the fires. However, our air quality is really, it's a technical term, sucky. I can feel it in my chest, and even though today looks like it'll be a little bit brighter, you're up in the heart of it.
Boy, and it's a surreal thing in a lot of ways. It's very gray and yellow here. The sun can't really get through right now, and so we've got an air purifier going here in the house, and we're watching that air quality. There's several websites too that can give you a reading, actual quantitative value of your air quality. So that's useful to keep an eye on that too. And I would advise for folks, anybody with asthma, allergies, if you're feeling irritated upper respiratory wise, we do want to lay off that outdoor activity while that air clears.
And what about having surgery at this time? I know that you've got filters and things in the surgery center, but you still got to go home the next day, and that's
Yeah, we do know that smoking has an impact on bone healing. Several other factors do as well. Uh, I have not seen data as of yet that indicates that a wildfire contaminants of the air would affect bone healing. And we have not had any increase in infection rates or any other concerning trends since the air has been more poor. Uh, but likely, probably because, like as you said, we're using complete, 100% oxygen in the surgery center.
and again, the doctor has just said, don't smoke, right? Because that does affect everything. Doctor, I thank you very much. Any last minute thoughts or comments?
Just that if you're interested in limb lengthening, reach out to us. There's a few other centers in the country that do it as well. And meet your doctor, talk to your doctor. Your doctor should know who you are, what your life is like, what your days are like, and what your objectives are prior to getting into any limb lengthening discussion.
And of course, we've had the website for Silicon Valley Orthopedic up throughout this interview. And we look forward to talking to Dr. Gay again soon. Thank you very much.
Enjoy it.
This is Late Night Health. I'm Mark Allen. We'll be back very soon.